Hey there. I know I've been promising a biography. As you can see, no beard, getting a little extra skin under my chin. I've been through kind of an interesting period, as you could expect, a 60-year-old man who partied his butt off and traveled the U.S. and IBM sent me on a lot of trips. I ended up being an alcoholic, got cirrhosis of the liver. Enough about my woes. Anyway, I'm going to record this history for my kids, my relatives. Charlie, I know, it's important to know, you know, who are you? As the Who says, who are you? I don't even know who I am myself. My earliest recollection is Victoria, Virginia. My father was delivering clothes. My father and mother had married. Yeah, I'm smoking. I got to quit smoking. My father and mother married and had a son, Ken Ellis, Ken Vaughn, my brother. He's 3 years older than me. And by the time I was born, he's already three. Well, let's see. I was born April 11th, 1951. He was born June 11th, 1948. Kind of weird we're on that 11th. Never thought about it that way. Anyway, so my earliest recollection is spotty. I remember getting a train set. Trains were big in that town. I remember our dog Sissy. I remember sitting on the steps, and I remember going to my grandma and granddad's. My grandfather Arthur Vaughn and his dear wife Helen. Granddad had a nice house, and he had chickens and pigs, and I remember horses, I think, at a time. Cows, of course. I love the cows. I remember in the summertime, this is going to sound gross, but it'd be real hot and be barefoot, and you could squish your feet in cow patties. And I knew, Grandma probably told me, the cows eat nothing but grass, so they don't have crappy crap. Their crap, in fact, grows mushrooms that later on in life I would eat. Didn't know about them then. That'd have been a trip, eating those funny mushrooms growing out of the cow patties I saw. I might have had some interesting times there. Anyway, so Victoria, Virginia, small town. Little historical fact, Roy Clark, country singer, hee-haw. He was from Nutbush. Nutbush was a little town south or north of Victoria. I don't remember. I'd have to look at maps, but it wasn't far from Victoria. My other grandmother and grandfather, my mother's family, lived in South Boston, Virginia. So I do remember us traveling from Victoria, Virginia to South Boston, Virginia. It was like a major thing, man, my first memories of traveling. And then we moved, and I remember they let me ride in the moving van. I was so upset leaving Grandma and Grandpa, even though we were only going to be in Boykins, Virginia, which wasn't that far from Victoria. To this little kid, about 6 years old, I thought we were going to the moon. They let me ride in the truck. I remember getting sick. I don't remember. We went to Boykins, Virginia. I had finished first grade, I believe, in Victoria. Dad was working in a store called People's Department Store. They transferred him to Boykins, and the only thing I remember about Boykins, I swear I can't remember the house, my bedroom. I remember getting the measles. I remember my brother and I playing a lot by the house. I remember Dad cutting hedges. I remember this beautiful friend of my family that cooked me fried green tomatoes for the first time. I hardly remember the school at all. I have no recollection of going in second grade there. I do remember going to Virginia Beach. I do remember water flooding the creeks. We lived near the Dismal Swamp. I also remember the mosquito trucks spraying the blue smoke. We were there a year, and then Dad was sent to South Hill, Virginia, People's Department Store. Once again, the only thing I remember from South Hill, I don't remember a thing about the schools. I remember kicking out a church plate glass window with a football. Dad wasn't happy about that. I remember getting my head split open and getting shots for that. I remember getting a sore arm. I remember the ice cream. When you went to the doctor, and my mother was crazy about taking me to the doctor all the time for anything. But I did have surgery on my eye, or they attempted it. I did have my head patched up. They gave you an ice cream certificate if you were a good kid, and that was pretty cool. I'm doing this real quick. And then a year later, he was transferred to Manassas, Virginia. We moved into a place called Manassas Park, Virginia. Interesting. I remember that home real well because I was there for a few years now. It was a Cape Cod. Mom and Dad slept downstairs, and my brother and I, Ken, we had bedrooms upstairs. We didn't have air conditioning, so I remember getting very hot in the summer. But I had windows and fans. You could open the windows. I remember elementary school. I got my first paper route then. I remember delivering papers in Manassas Park. I remember crawling into sewer lines with my neighbor because that's what we did to get from one place to another without being seen, like we were spies. Little did we know we could have been killed because if the fire department had flooded those pipes, we would have drowned. I have a lot of fond memories. I'm going to stop this at Manassas Park. I was in 4th grade. My father was now managing a store in Manassas, a nice store. And Sissy, our dog from when I was can remember in Victoria, Virginia, was still with us, still alive. And in my next segment, of course, she was killed accidentally by my father, but that's the next one is going to be in depth in Manassas Park because the Beatles came out, nuclear test getting under the desk. My father's heightened status as a manager going into his store was a big deal because Dad was the boss. So I'll get into that, but basically Victoria, Virginia, born in Farmville. Victoria, Vaughn's Grocery, by the way, my granddad had a grocery store. It's still open, run by my cousin. My granddad was one heck of a man, Vaughn, and then my granddad Lipscomb fought in World War I, and he was a heck of a granddad. I will cover that side of the family in South Boston, Virginia. I had two great families, two great examples to grow up from. One grandfather that lost his teeth, lost his voice box, lost his hair. He fought in France in 1908, 1907, World War I. But I never saw that man shy away from anything. He whittled, he was a good man. And my grandmother was very sweet on my mother's side. So anyway, it's just a little update. In my health, I'm pretty well off, but I do have some situations that I've got to go to specialists for. They want to cut my toes off. I don't want that to happen. They don't want to do that. Smoking. Yep. My father, by the way, died of lung cancer at age 71. I am 68, and I can't get rid of this crap. I'm trying now. I've cut back, as you can see, but I'm smoking now. But I'm blessed. On a footnote, I lost my wife 11 years ago. We were married 25 years. She was going to see her mother. The guy ran a red light. They had to cut her out of the car. By the time I got to Pittsburgh, she had lapsed in a coma. 28 days later, I flew her by Learjet to Chapel Hill to try to save her life. And when she got there, her kidneys shut down, and they told me she had 7 or 9 days to live. So I ordered her air shut off. It took 5 hours for her heart to stop. The longest 5 hours of my life, and I'll never get over that. I always ask myself, my God, did I do the right thing? But if you'd have seen the way she looked when they buried her, the undertakers, when they got her body to the funeral home, the undertaker saw a picture of her at her funeral in a photo show I did for her. By the way, Charlie, your mom and dad were there. I think you were there too, but you were a baby. Can't remember if it was you. I forgot who came. I'm sorry, I'm losing my memory. That's why I'm doing this. But Charlie, your mom and dad came, and it moved me a lot. My sister, we're talking about my sister, Alexis, I love dearly. We'll get into all that. But anyway, I'm going to end this now. I just wanted to give an update. I've been very busy going to doctors and wrapped up in volunteer work. All of you, look up runningworks, one word, .org, runningworks.org. I am on the board of directors. If you look at the website and you'll see my picture. If you go to board of directors, you'll see my profile from Meredith Dohari, who started the organization 7 years ago from her perspective. I hope everyone has a good night. I'm getting ready to shut it down. I guess telling you about my wife dying 11 years ago. She was 57. I'm 68. I'm getting her retirement from IBM. I got my retirement from IBM, but it's sad. I wanted Sharon to be here. The money I get from her retirement isn't even a toenail versus what I would have with her. Everyone loved one another, man. I guess the point of the matter is when she took off that morning to go see her mother in Pittsburgh, who had gotten in the hospital, she thought her mother had a heart attack. Turned out her mother just had arrhythmia, but she didn't have a full-blown heart attack. My wife didn't know that, so she drove up there, and she got within a mile of the hospital. Sorry, my nose is running a little bit. Hate to be gross, but you didn't want to see snot dripping out my nose. She got within a mile of her mother. She gets T-boned. She never got to see her mother. She died. 3 months later, her brother died. A year and a half later, her mother died. That's a whole nother story. But I reflect a lot. You know, each day I wake up, and I'm glad I'm thankful I'm 68. For what reason, I don't know. The older you get, the hell it gets hard. But humility I try to get. I try to be humble. And I've done a lot of incredible things in my career in IBM. I've been a good father. I've done a lot of credible things. So what? That's what I was supposed to do. Humility teaches me now that I'm only as good as today. I might not even be here tomorrow, so I try to act as cool as I can each day, treat everybody with dignity, love everybody as I can, not get into confrontations, take it easy when things get stressful. And, you know, it's not a bad life doing it that way, and I quit drinking. After 50 years of drinking, I gave it up. I started drinking at 16, sneaking drinks, but what I mean by drinking, by the time I was 18, that was 50 years ago, I was pretty much getting knocked on my butt. Anyway, I hope everyone has a good evening. I will follow this up. Charlie, mainly the first part of it is the Vaughns. Because Charlie, who I keep saying, and I'm not going to out him or anything like that, or actually I already did, but his last name isn't Vaughn, so it could be hard for you to find him. But Charlie, your dear mother, you know, my sister, you need to know, you know, this side of the family. You're a part of us. I mean, you're my nephew. I'm your uncle. I know. I wish I could see you, man. I wish, you know, we could kick around something. I'm so sorry families don't get together anymore. My uncles meant a lot to me. But when I got to see them, we had fun. Unfortunately, I don't get to see you. I don't have a car. They got wrecked at the beach, and I decided not to get one, take the buses. But anyway, I'm rambling. Victoria, Virginia, South Hill, Virginia. Victoria, Virginia, Borkins, Virginia, South Hill, Virginia, Manassas, Virginia. We were the caravan. Talk to you later. Hope everyone has a peaceful night.